Okay, St. Olaves booklet 2, St. Olaves and Newstead booklet 2, sorry. English comprehension. So we've got a passage here. If I just summarise what we've got here, the first paragraph basically talks about the morning sun looking like a withered sunflower, younger kids in this village stopping their gleeful games and exchanging apprehensive glances among themselves. So they're quite worried, and what happens is an unprecedented beast must be approaching to the heart of this valley called the Broken Valley, and this word serene just means like peaceful. So there's a beast approaching is what they say, and what a calamitous and tumultuous one it was. So it's describing the beast again. It says the birds basically soaring in the sky in a frenzied exodus, so that means just like in like a crazy fashion. Forsaking their nests means that they are leaving their nests without any hesitation, and abodes also just means houses or homes. And then a deafening roar erupts from the core of the mountains. So this is giving us an idea of what this beast actually is. So the mountains usually vigilantly shield the Broken Valley, right? But this time there is a beast coming from the core of the mountains. But it was far too late for them to take any drastic measures. Their fleeing feet trembled as they realized their impending doom, and a sudden savage shuddering of the earth was the catalyst. So the buildings, so a catalyst just means something that speeds up the doom, the impending doom. So buildings swayed like reeds. So buildings are basically, you think about reeds, they're like swaying. Panic engulfs the valley. Villagers rush for safety. There's a thunderous rumbling of the mountains. So it's not actually thunder, but the mountains are rumbling thunderously. And then there's a cacophony of terrified screams. So this is just like, if you think about, I think a cacophony is usually used to explain the sound like a group of crows make, like a really harsh, discordant sound. And here we have exposed skins, hurt by scattered rocks, soaked by wandering water, and then the world is covered in a shade of crimson. So that's an idea of like crimson is red. So the idea here is soaked in blood, and danger was everywhere, or anywhere, sorry. So the aftermath isn't pretty. The remnants of despair imprinted in people's minds. Wind of hope soon came, so the neighbours reached out to save one another, pulling the injured from the debris, offering solace to the frightened, so offering hope to the frightened. Broken Valley was not destined to succumb so easily. So the village that had stood for generations was forever altered, meaning forever changed, but the people of the Broken Valley were not. So they emerged from the rubble, which is like the aftermath. Their spirit is unbroken, and they're ready to rebuild their lives and their beloved village. With unwavering resolve and determination, scars on the land would heal, and they'd come back stronger than ever. Then they talk about the waning sun, casting its warm light on the ruins, and then it uses this metaphor to say the phoenix will soon rise. So that's representing the village basically rebirthing and coming back to life. So you can see, starts off with an introduction of what's going on, and then you've got the disaster happening, which is the rumbling of the mountains, which you can assume is like an earthquake. Panic engulfs, and it goes into more description, and the aftermath is their spirit is unbroken and they're going to rebuild. So if we look at what is question 1, or what event does actually the passage directly describe, I think it's very easy to cross out B, D and E, but many people get confused on A and C. Now it does say thunderous rumbling, so you might assume that it's a thunderstorm, but this is supposed to catch you out, because it's the mountains that are rumbling, and it's very clear if you look at even the unprecedented beast, which is a metaphor for the actual disaster. it's coming from the core of the mountains over here, meaning it's coming from underneath. It's an earthquake, not a thunderstorm. So option C is the correct answer here. Question 2, which of the following is a simile used in the passage? So anything, a simile is somewhere that it says like or as. So if A isn't one, neither is C. D is actually a metaphor, and E has nothing to do with it. So you got B here, which is the mountains are, well, the rumbling of the mountains is compared to a ravenous wolf. Question 3. In line 6, an unprecedented beast must be approaching to the heart of the broken valley. So the unprecedented beast is a metaphor for the earthquake that is happening. So the option would be C. Question 4. What does the metaphor buildings swayed like reeds in the wind convey? This is actually a simile, so we'll change that to be edited. But it's basically describing that the buildings were fragile and unstable. If they're swaying, they're meant to be sturdy, right? If they're swaying in this disaster, then they're fragile and unstable. So all the other ones are saying the opposite, and then D is just not mentioned anywhere, and neither is E. So B works the best there. Question 5. How does the author use symbolism to represent hope in the passage? So now we can see the symbol is highlighted here. The phoenix will soon rise. So if you think about, many of you might know Harry Potter, and I believe it's something to do with the phoenix is the title of one of those books. But the image of a phoenix rising is basically when a phoenix dies, it's meant to have like a rebirth and come back to life even more powerful. So that's sort of what they're doing here, is they're saying the waning sun is casting the light, its light on the ruins, and then it's explaining that, and it's symbolizing that as the phoenix to soon rise, so the village will come back to strength. So how does it actually represent the hope? It's through the waning sun and talking about what that symbolizes as the phoenix. So all the other ones can be crossed out here. Question 6. What is a cacophony? So in this, you can see cacophony, I believe, is down here. So you know that it's used to describe the terrified screams. So you know, you have a general gist of what it could mean. It's definitely not a harmonious melody if it's terrified screams. And these ones, it's not a look, it's meant to be a sound. And again, this doesn't match either. So you're left with B and C, which are quite similar. And if you know the definition, you'll basically figure out that B is the most accurate here. If you don't know the definition of this, you basically have to guess between one of these two. But I think, yeah, even B would fit better in that phrase, because it's saying loads of terrified screams. It wouldn't particularly say that it's just a loud noise, more a very terrifying noise. Okay, question 7. What is the synonym for unprecedented? So unprecedented is when you don't know what's coming, or you don't know anything about it, or it's never been known before. So uncommon and unbelievable, while they sound similar, I wouldn't say it's the closest. So, and then usual and uncertain are very clearly not the closest. Now, I think uncommon and unforeseen are the closest to being a synonym, just because you could say the antonym of unprecedented is actually something that is common, or known, right, or happens a lot, or has happened before. So A is close, but unforeseen would make the most sense here as the synonym, because unforeseen means exactly that it's like not known and you wouldn't have expected it. So B would be the correct answer here. Question 8. What does the phrase figuratively and literally mean? So this means figuratively is sort of like in your mind or in a symbolic sense, and literally it's actually happening. So that gives us B. It means that it's happening in a symbolic sense. Their world is collapsing in a symbolic sense, like everything they've ever known and loved is collapsing. That's symbolic, but also in a real sense. So you've got option B there. Question 9: How do the villagers demonstrate resilience in the face of disaster, according to the passage? So we've got here, as they emerge from the rubble, or actually we've got some, a wind of hope soon comes. Neighbours reach out to save one another, put each other out of the debris, offer solace to the frightened, and they're ready to rebuild their lives and their village. So that is resilience. Resilience is like facing hardship and then continuing to push forward and continuing to stay positive. So option C is the best option there, because they come together and offer help and prepare to rebuild. D wouldn't be resilient. E wouldn't make any sense. A again isn't resilient, and B is not resilient. Question 10. What is the significance of waning sun at the end of the story? So we already went over this. It's used to introduce this idea of the phoenix to soon rise. The reason they do that is because like sun and light and warmth is quite similar to this idea of a phoenix. So it's easy to connotate that, or like link those together. So the waning sun, I mean, you could say the waning sun casting its light on the ruins is what is the phoenix, right? The phoenix is the light, and it's basically symbolizing rebirth and renewal. That's what a phoenix does, and obviously the waning sun is symbolizing that phoenix. Question C, option C. Question 11. Which sentence contains an example of alliteration? So here we've got gleeful games, that's two G's next to each other. And then here we've got savage shuddering, that's two S's next to each other. So we had to mark two answers on this option, it says. So A and C is the correct answer here. Okay, which two senses are not described in paragraph 4? So we've got, if we look at paragraph 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, I believe this will be 4. So we've got stand steady, I think this one will be 4. So it'll be 1, 2, 3, 4. Rush for safety, the world figuratively, and then so you got the screams, which is a sound. You got soaked, which is sort of like, oh, we've got exposed skin being hurt by scattered rocks, so that's like touch. And then I think we've got sight in terms of the world is covered in a shade of crimson, so that would be sight. So we're left with smell and taste, which are the only two that haven't been mentioned. So we've got D and E. Paragraph 4, I think it's basically not counting this one-liner as its own paragraph. I think that's a mistake that what I'll do is I'll change that to make that more descriptive of which paragraph it wants you to look at. But that is about it for the English. Let's move on to the fractions maths questions now. So we've got question 13. The pattern below is made up of 4 regular hexagons and 7 equilateral triangles. So these is important because it just says that they are equal sides. So if you split this up, right, if you split the hexagon up into 6 parts, these are all equal parts, and I've just made them into 6 triangles. So with these, you can't just count how many we've got shaded, because the size is different. What we have to do is we have to split these into equal sections, and then we can count how many are shaded and how many total So I've just split this up, and you can see this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 triangles in the hexagon, 7, 8, 9. So there's actually 9 triangles that are shaded. And then if we count how many actual triangles there will be across the entire thing, I'm just making these all into triangles. As a total, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31. So we've got 31 there, and I'm just going to double check. So there's 4 hexagons, which are each 6 triangles, so that's 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31. Yep, so we've got 31 total triangles, or like the area of triangle, right? And then we've got 9 that are actually shaded. So that's our fraction of the shape that is shaded, and we can't simplify that any further. Question 14. How many seconds are in 1/6 of 1/8 of a day? So when you have of, you just make everything into a time symbol, and a day is 3,600 seconds. I'm going to use seconds because it's easier to do, and just to figure out how many seconds there are, you just have to do 24 hours times 60, which will give you how many minutes, and then times that by 60 again. But I think you should also maybe know that, memorize that it's 3,600 seconds. It can be a bit easier to figure out. So 1/10 of a day is just going to be 3,600 divided by 10, which is 360. Now 1/8 of that is going to be the same, it's going to be 8 divided by 360, which will give us 45. And 1/6 divided by that, by 45, it's just going to be, times by that, it's just going to be 45 divided by 6, which gives you 7.5. So we've got 7.5 seconds in that equation. Question 14. How many seconds are there in 1/6 of 1/8 of 1/10 of one day? So easiest way to do this is just change the of to a time symbol, and we can just do that. And because it's asking us about seconds, I'm going to use the how many seconds there are in a day, which is 86,400. And you can figure that out by doing 24 hours times by 60, which will give you the minutes, and then times by 60, which will give you that will give you the hours. If you times that by 60, it'll give you the minutes, and then if you times that by 60, it'll give you how many seconds are in the day, and it'll get you 86,400. Now all you have to do to find 1/10 of that is you divide it by 10, so you get 8,640. If you divide that by 1/8, you'll find 1/8. Sorry, if you divide that by 8, you'll get 1/8. So if you do that, divide by 8, you'll get 1,080. And then if you divide that one by 6 to find 1/6, it will just be 180, and that's your answer, 180 seconds. So you just have to do a few divisions to get your answer after you figured out how many seconds are in a day. Question 15. In the sum of the numerator and the denominator of the fraction is 12. Okay, so that means it's 12 over 12. If the denominator is increased by 3, the fraction becomes 1 over 2. Also, sorry, my mistake. It says the sum of the numerator and the denominator, so they both add up to 12, but if you increase the bottom by 3, you'll get half. So again, a half is anything where the top is half of the bottom, like 3 over 6. So we need, let's say, 6 and 6. If we did 6 over 9, then it wouldn't be a half. So we can't use 6 over 6 as our answer. We can try 5 and 7. If you've got 5 over 7, these two will add up to 12. And if we increase the bottom by 3, we'll get 5 over 10, which is actually a half if you simplify it. So this will be our answer, 5 over 7. Question 16. In a kettle where 1/4 liters of water, a cup holds 2/7 of a liter of water. How many full cups of water can be filled from the kettle? So we can turn this into an improper fraction. We use the invisible times and the invisible plus sign. So you do 7 times 1 plus 4, which is 11. And you do that over 7. That's how many liters of water the kettle has. Now, the cup holds 2/7 of a liter. So how many full cups of water can be filled from the kettle? Well, it's basically how many of these go into that. And you can see 2 times 5 will give you 10/7. So that's 5 full cups that it can do. And the remainder will be 1/7 left over. And that won't fill the whole cup. So it should be 5 as our answer here. The remaining water is poured into a cup. What percentage of this cup is filled with water? So you can see the remainder is 1/7 of a liter. And a cup holds 2/7 of a liter. So 1/7 is just half of 2/7, meaning only 50% of the cup is actually full. Question 18. 120 pupils are sitting an exam. The pupils can choose whether to write in pencil or pen. So 2/5 of the people are boys. 3/4 are boys writing in pencil. 1/3 of the girls are writing in pen. So how many are writing in pencil? So we've got here 1/3 is writing in pen, 1/3 of the girls. That means 2/3 of the girls are writing in pencil. We already know that 3/4 of the boys are writing in pencil as well. So now we have to just figure out the number that each of these correlate to. So we know 2/5 of 120 is the total number of boys. So we can do 120 times 2/5, or how I like to do it, I mean, it will give us basically 240 over 5, which is 240 divided by 5. So that should come to 48 total boys. And then 3/4 of that 48 are actually using pencil. So 1/4 of 48 is 12, meaning 3/4 will just be that times 3, which is 36. So we already have 36 boys using pencil. And now, how many girls are there total? Well, it will just be 48 minus the total, which gives us 92. Sorry, not 92. Should be 72. And then 2/3 of 72 is, it should be 30 something around. I'm thinking 28. It is 24. So 2/3 or 24 girls. Oh, sorry, 24 is 1/3. 2/3 would be 48. So it'd be 48 girls are using pencil, and 36 boys are using pencil. So the total will be 36 added to 48, which is 84, I believe. Alright, so our answer for question 18, is 84. Okay, question 19. How many pupils, or how many drinks are 1/3 full of a fizzy drink? I drink 40 milliliters of fizzy drinks. The bottle is now 1/4 full. How much fizzy drink does the bottle hold when full? Okay. So what happens is it's got 1/3 in it. When he drinks 40 milliliters out of it, it goes down to 1/4. So we know 40 milliliters is the difference between these two. Now, what is the difference between these two? Well, if I actually change them both to have 12 at the bottom, one will be 4/12 and the other will be 3/12. So basically, the difference is 1/12, meaning 40 milliliters is equal to 1/12 of the full bottle. Now it's quite easy to figure out how much is the actual full bottle, because it's actually just going to be 12/12. So the full bottle will just be 40 milliliters times 12, which should be 480 milliliters. Question 20. A block of chocolate is divided between 3 friends. Paul gets half of it and Peter gets 1/3 of it. Richard gets 100 grams of chocolate. How heavy was the bar originally? Okay, so if Paul gets half and Richard gets 1/3, we have to think about what is left over. So let's convert these to equivalent fractions with 6 at the bottom. So that should be 3/6. This is 2/6, meaning there's only 1/6 left. So this is how much Richard got, and 1/6 is equal to 100 grams, meaning 6/6, or the full bar, from here to here was just times 6, so we just have to times 6 from here, meaning the full bar is actually 600 grams of chocolate. So that is the answer to question 20. Question 21. Christian has 1 hour to clean the house before his parents get back from holiday. He has to hoover 3 rooms, clean out his hamster's pet cage, and wipe off the drawing of the elephant he accidentally did on the bathroom. So each room takes 12 minutes to hoover, and I believe he has to hoover 3 rooms, so that's 36 minutes. It takes 18 minutes to clean out the hamster's cage, so add 18. 21 minutes to rub out the elephant. Okay, and then what fraction of the elephant is left on the wall when Christian's parents arrive home? Okay, so he has 1 hour total, and I think he's gone over 1 hour to do all of this. So he does 36 plus 18, which gives us 54 minutes. And then only 6 minutes out of the total 21 minutes that it takes to rub out the elephant, he has done. So that means there is if we flip this, basically, he's done 6 out of 21. How much is left over? It will be the opposite of that, which is, or the remainder, like the difference. So I think that is 4, 5, 15. So 15 over 21 is how much of the elephant he hasn't. I mean, how many more minutes he still has to rub out the elephant. So, like, ideally, if his rubbing out is completely equal, and he does it at the same pace for the whole 21 minutes, then 15 over 21 of the entire elephant should be left on the wall, and there's no way to simplify that either. Actually, I was wrong. We can actually use 3 to simplify that. So if we divide the top by 3, we get 5, and the bottom we get 7, and the answer here is 5/7 for question 21. Okay, which fraction is bigger, 5/6 or 6/7? So we just have to convert these to equivalent fractions. We can go with 6 times 7 as the denominator, which is 42. So 7 times 5 is 35, and this is 6, right? 6 times 7 is 42. 6 times 6, because we have to times this one by 6 to get there. So it'll be 36, meaning this 6/7 is actually bigger. So it'll be 36 over 42, and that's obviously the bigger number. Question 23, write down a fraction which is greater than the 3/8 but less than 4/8. So we can't use something in between these two, we just have to use a fraction with a different denominator. So what we can do is we can actually use a fraction that's smaller than this. Like if we times the top and the bottom by 2, we'll have 6 over 16. Now 7 over 16 is in between 6 over 16 and 8 over 16. So this is the perfect number for us to use. If we do this right here, this is actually just 4 over 8, meaning we've found a number that is in between these two. So our answer here will be 7 over 16. Question 24, write down a fraction which is less than 1/6 but greater than 1/7. Okay, so 1 over 6 and 1 over 7. Again, we can look for something. First of all, let's convert these. So we have 6 over 42, and it should be 7 over 42. I'm just converting these two equivalent fractions. So 7 over 42, and this one is 6 over 42. Now we need something that's in between these two. We can do the exact same thing that we did last time. We can double the fractions and then use the one that's in between. So 84, 14 over 84, and this one would be 12 over 84. So the fraction that is in between them will be 13 over 84. So that can be our answer for question 24. So Neil spends 1/3 of his money, and then he spends 1/3 of what he has left, and then how much did he spend altogether? So if he spends 1/3 on the first time, and he spends 1/3 of that, sorry, 1/3 of what is left over. So we've got 1/3, first of all, that's been used, and then what's left over is 2 over 3, and he spends 1/3 of that. So we just have to times that to figure out how much that is, because we're figuring out 1/3 of 2/3, and if we do that, we'll basically get 2 over 9, and we now have, so the second time he spent 2 over 9, the first time he spent 1/3, we just have to add these together. If we convert this to an equivalent fraction, we'll have 3 over 9 added to 2 over 9, which is basically 5 over 9, and that will be our answer for question 25. Question 26, Aisha has some sweets. He gives 1/6 of them to Neelish. Neelish immediately eats one of them, and now has 4 left. How many has Aisha got left? So Neelish got given 5 sweets, because you can see he ate 1 and had 4 left. So 5 sweets was given to Neelish. We know that 5 sweets is equal to 1/6 of how many Aisha had. So how many is 5/6? Because that's what she has left after she's given to Neelish, right? And what we need to do is figure out, we just had to do this, we had to times this by 5 to get here. So if we times this by 5, Aisha should have 25 sweets left, and she probably started out with 30. That's the answer to question 26. Let's go on to question 27. How many squares need to be shaded in the diagram below so that the number of shaded squares is equal to 3/5? So all of these squares are the same size. If we count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, there are 16 total squares. It's asking about 3/5. Oh, it's actually asking 3/5 of the number of squares that remain unshaded. Okay, so this is going to be difficult. Now, if we basically 3/5 of a number, so imagine, let's say we choose the number 8 of them to be shaded. 3/5 of that will not be a whole number. So let's choose a number that would work, like 10. 3/5 of that would just be 6. So it would work well if 6 of them are shaded and 10 of them are unshaded. Then the number of shaded squares is equal to 3/5 of the number of unshaded. And you can see actually both of these add up to 16. So if we shaded in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, we've got 6 shaded, 10 unshaded, and we match the statement, which is that 3/5 of the number of shaded squares, 3/5 of the number of unshaded squares is equal to the number of shaded squares. There's the answer to question 27. Question 28. Mr. Rossi is looking at his monthly accounts. 2/5 of his money was made selling ice cream. The rest of his money came from selling sweets and from fizzy drinks. He made twice as much money from selling fizzy drinks than from sweets. He made £330 selling fizzy drinks. So we know if 2/5 came from ice cream and the rest came from selling sweets and from fizzy drinks, we know that 3/5 came from sweets plus fizzy drinks. Now he's saying twice as much of that money came from fizzy drinks than from sweets. So 2/3 of this number came from fizzy drinks and 1/3 came from sweets, because that's twice as much. Now, how do we figure out? Well, we know that this is equal to 330, right? 2/3 of that. So how much is this one going to be equal to? Well, it's going to be half of that. How much is sweets going to be equal to? Half of this. So that's going to be 150. Actually, it'll be 165. And now we have to work our way back to figure out this. So if we add these two together, that would give us 495. And that's how much he made from sweets and fizzy drinks. And now we just need to figure out how much he made from ice cream. So if we divide this number by 3, we'll find out how much 1/5 of his full income is. So if we divide 495 by 3, we should get 165. And then his full income will just be 5 times that, because that's what is equal to 5/5, or the full amount. So if we times that by 5, we get £825. That's the answer to question 28. Okay, question 29. Asha sells vegetables at the market. On Monday, she sold half of her vegetables. On Tuesday, she sold 1/3 of the vegetables she had left. What fraction of her original stock does she have left to sell on Wednesday? Okay, so if you're selling half of them on Tuesday, we know 50% is already gone. Now, we need to figure out how much did she sell on Thursday, because she sold 1/3 of 50%. So to figure out that, you just do the times, which means it's 1/5 of the total. So 1/6. 1/6 of the total that she sold on Tuesday, added to the 1/2 which she sold on Monday. That will tell us how much she'll have left. So if we make this into an equivalent fraction, that will be 3 over 6. We add those together, we've got 4 over 6. And the leftover is 2 over 6 for her to sell on Wednesday, which is basically equivalent to 1 over 3. Okay, question 30. I drink water, a quarter of a bottle of drink. I then drink 1/3 of what is left. Lastly, I drink 1/2 of what is left. What is the fraction of the original drink I have left? Oh, sorry, what is the fraction of the original drink that I drank? Okay, I drink a quarter, and then 1/3 of what is left. And then 1/2 of what is left. So this will tell us how much he drank on this section. So that's actually 1 over 24. That's how much he drank at the end. Now, how much did he drink on the second go? It is. Actually, no, I've made a mistake there. Let's take this out. So 1/4 of the bottle of the drink. So that's the first section that he's drunk. And he drinks 1/3 of what is left. So that means there's 3/4 left, and he drinks 1/3 of that. If we do that, that will be 3 over 12. So that's how much he's drank on the second sip. And then there's basically 2/3 of this left, 2/3 of 3/4 left after that second sip, because he's drank 1/3 of it. So let's figure out what that is. Actually, to be honest, I think that should just be 9. Let me just have a look. 3 over 4 times that give us 6 over 12. Okay, so this is basically how much is left. So basically half of the bottle is drunk at this point, and then he drinks 1/2 of this, which is basically another quarter. If we times this by 1/2, we'll get 1/4. So this is the final sip that he has. Now if we add all of these boxes together, I'm going to convert these to equivalent fractions. It will just be 3 over 12, and this one will also be 3 over 12. And then we add all of those together. That will give us 9 over 12, which if we simplify will give us 3 over 4. So overall he's drank 3/4 of the original drink, and he's left 1/4 of the original drink. Okay, question 31, verbal reasoning now. In this section you have 10 verbal reasoning questions, and select the right answer that you think and mark it on your letter. Mark the letter, sorry. So which pair of words is the odd word out in terms of how their meanings relate to one another? So we've got broad and wide, which mean the same thing. Light and heavy mean different things. These all of the rest of these mean the same thing, so B is the odd word out, odd pair out. Which pair of these is the odd word out? So drove quickly, skipped happily, galloped hastily, flew sluggishly, and ran speedily. Now, this is a typo, we'll fix that. But if we look at the actual words, happily, skipped happily, this is the only word or the only adverb that doesn't explain the speed of this word. So B is the odd word out, and the rest of them are talking about speed. Question 33. I carefully followed the instructions to assemble the new bookshelf. Which word in the above sentence is a verb? So followed is the one where he's actually doing something. When he says to assemble, he hasn't actually assembled it yet, so it's not exactly the doing word. I think it would count as a verb, but it's not mentioned in the options here, so we'll go with C. 34. We've got these codes here, and all you have to do is look at the numbers. So if you see that 8, 8 and 8, we've got a letter that is at the start of one word, at the end of one word, and the second last of one word. The only letter that matches that is D. So this would be mode, this would be demo, and this would be mend. Meaning, we look at this, n is equal to 6, so it should start with 6, because our answer is node. O is equal to 4, so it would be 6, 4. D is 8, and E is, if you look at this one, E is 3. So 6, 8, 4, 6, 4, 8, 3, which is option C. Okay, question 35. So Lisa, Maria, Nancy, and Olivia and Paula measure their weight to the nearest kg. Stand in a line from lightest to heaviest. Their weights are consecutive numbers. No two people weigh the same. So Maria stands between Paula and Nancy. Lisa stands immediately between Paula and Olivia. So if Olivia's here, then Lisa would be here. And Olivia is the heaviest. Okay, so we have to work backwards from that actually. If Olivia is the heaviest, then she's at the right side. Nancy is the lightest. Paula is 1 kg lighter than Lisa. Okay, so we know this is where O and N are. And it said Maria stands between Paula and Nancy. So if M is here, P is somewhere around here. And it also says Lisa stands Paula is 1 kg lighter than Lisa. So Lisa is above Paula, and it says Paula stands between Lisa and Olivia, which she is doing. And I think that is everyone. There's only 5 of these people. So we got Nancy, who is 60 kilos. We've got Olivia, who is 64. And this should be 61, 62, and 63. The heavy is Maria, 61 kilos, which is option C. Okay, question 36. Rearrange the words in the following sentence in descending order of length. So the longest word here is, this is the 5-letter word, and it says, I believe, it doesn't say anything, but usually with these ones, if it's a tie for the longest letter, you just keep it in the same order that it already is. So this is 5, this is 5, and this is 5. So it would be black, chase, mouse as the first 3. And then cats is 4, and then the is the last one, so it should be option B. So this has 2 vowels. Brightly only has 1. And these all have 1. So it should be shining as the first one, and then the sun is, and then brightly, which is option B. Question 38. Arrange the words of the following sentence in alphabetical order of their final letter. If they have the same final letter, arrange in order they appear in the sentence, which is as usual. So the furthest is tall. L is the furthest into the alphabet, I believe, unless we've got, yeah, so it should start with, did it say descending? Oh no, it says alphabetical order, so tall should be at the end. So actually we can cancel out all of these apart from E. But if we carry on, D is the first one, and then it should be E, so it should be old, the, tree. Actually no, it should be old stood because you've got two Ds. So old and then stood. And then the tree, oak, tall, which is... Question 39 is rearrange the words in the descending order of syllables. So syllables, this is glorious, so that's 3 syllables. Butterflies, so that's 3. Flutter is 2, and gracefully is also 3. So it should be glorious butterflies gracefully flutter. So glorious butterflies gracefully flutter, that's option A. Question 40, which words from the following list are homophonic? So sail, sail, saw, soul. So sail and sail sound the same when you say them, so that would be the only homophonic ones, which is A. Question 41, NVR, so you've got similar shapes here. With these we have to find a similarity or a rule between all of these shapes on the left, and then figure out which one of the options actually matches that rule. So to me it looks like each of these are a regular shape, and then they've got one shape outside and one shape inside. So you can see these two, and that would leave us with option A cancelled, C and D cancelled, E's got 2 different shapes, so it should only be B. Question 42, we've got lines, so these always make a right angle, so we can cancel out B and E. And it looks like they should either be pointing towards each other or away from each other, so it shouldn't be A and it shouldn't be C because they're 2 different heads over here. These always have the same heads. That leaves us with option D. Question 43 now. It's 2 different shapes that have an intersecting point, and that intersection, both of these shapes seem to always be rotated in a different way. You can see the arrows pointing up and down. Triangles are different, these are different. So it shouldn't be A because they're not rotated. It shouldn't be C because it's 2 different shapes rather than the same shape. B isn't even intersecting, and E isn't intersecting either, so it should be D. Question 44. We've got a shape with 3 other shapes inside, which is a star, triangle and a pentagon. So it shouldn't be A because these aren't inside. This hasn't got a pentagon, so we're left with a few options here. Now, they've always got a stripe, diagonally striped, so like this way. B has got the wrong striping, it's going the wrong way, so it shouldn't be B. This hasn't got a striped shape, meaning we're only left with answer option E. Question 45. We've got 3 dots and 3 lines, 2 dots and 2 lines, 4 dots and 4 lines. So it should always match. C hasn't got any dots. B hasn't got enough dots. This has got no dots, no lines, sorry. This has got too many dots. So A is the only option it can be. So now we have to look at what is changing from left to right and then apply that change to here. So I can see the pentagons go to the insides, and then the outside shape has 1 added side, so it goes from 5 to 6. So this one should turn into a pentagon from a square. So if I cancel out B, D and E, and the triangles, actually it should be the squares that are inside. So not A, which means C. Again, we're just applying everything that happened from here to here, from left to right and then left to right. Question 47. It looks like the shape inside is enlarged and then rotated 90 degrees. 90 degrees anti-clockwise. So let's enlarge this shape 90 degrees anti-clockwise. It should be facing upwards like this. So not any of these. This one is too small. Option D is the correct answer. Question 48. Now from here, left to right, it looks like the arrow goes inside, and the whole shape is made smaller and rotated 180 degrees. So this whole shape should be made smaller and rotated 180 degrees. So I'm thinking it would be something along the lines of something looking like this or this, so we can cancel out the rest of these. Now it's about what happens here. So this bottom one is an arrow. It seems to be a replica of this top shape, just made bigger and rotated 180 degrees. So it's pointing upwards. So if we take this one, make it bigger, rotate it 180 degrees, we should have C. Should stay black. There's no sign of this changing color, so we're left with C. Question 49. If what happens here is it looks like the circle comes to the outside, the rectangle goes to the inside. So this square should be on the outside and this curved shape should be on the inside. It shouldn't rotate like A or E. It looks like the shading flips as well, or rotates 90 degrees, so the shading is first vertical, then it's horizontal. So this one, it shouldn't be the same, it should probably be shaded the other way. Something, if we rotated it 90 degrees, we'd have something like B. Actually, I would say I was wrong on that. If I rotate it 90 degrees from here, it would actually be here, meaning D is the correct option there, just because of the 90 degree rotation of the shaded area. Alright, question 50. We have a raindrop. And then on here, it seems to move to the top left and the bottom right, and it swaps out with that shape. So this should have a plus here and a plus here, and this should be a triangle. So the only ones that match that so far is these two, and E is the only one with a triangle. Additionally, you can see the top right and the bottom left change into whatever shape the outside shape is, which is why we've got rectangles here. But E is the correct answer.